Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts, you have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is TruthSeekah. Be sure to visit our website, forbiddenknowledge.news. It's also the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. We feature some of your favorite podcasts and content creators. Check out my films, Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, Occult Louisiana is on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and more. We are booking guests for February. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show TruthSeekah. He is a Christian mystic, Amazon best-selling author, visionary artist, seer, and songwriter. His journey has brought him through research and experience with the occult, paranormal, Christianity, ufology, and the spirit realm. TruthSeekah, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm well, brother. How are you?
Excellent, man. It's been a while, and I want to thank you again for being a part of my first film, Occult Louisiana, which you can watch now free on Tubi. I really enjoyed your appearance there, and I really enjoy your perspectives on theology and the paranormal. Today, we're going to share some of those perspectives about the state of the collective as it relates to spiritual awareness and the fast-paced changes we're facing as humans, as well as the impact of technology and social media, theological implications of our times, and the nature of spiritual intelligences and their role in our lives and the overall path of humanity. That's a lot to get to. Hopefully we have time. Before we do, let the audience know a little bit more about yourself and let them know how they can find out more.
For sure. So I go by TruthSeekah. I am a spiritual hip-hop artist and author and a community leader. We have an online community that we lead, my wife and I, at truthseekah.com. We do guided meditations, weekly hangouts with our online community, all that cool stuff. So we wear a bunch of hats and try our best to educate, inspire, and equip the collective to bring out their best self, if you will.
Right on. Like I said, I love what you're doing. And I think a good place to start would be how you're feeling about how reality has been unfolding, the state of society as it relates to reactions from individuals and the collective to the unfolding high-impact events, emerging technology, the overall spiritual awareness. How do you feel about where we're at?
Yeah, I think it's heightened a lot of senses, a lot of things that were dormant for individuals, a lot of insecurities that have kind of come out. I think the algorithms and the AI kind of put that stuff in your face. So it's leveled the playing field as far as AI is concerned a lot. I definitely have mixed feelings on it all. I think we're in the beginning stages to see how everything's unfolding. The barrier and the level of entry is like gone. Like anybody can do what they've wanted to do with the assistance of AI and do it well. And so as an artist, as a content creator, as a pioneer in a lot of this stuff, it's very intimidating to deal with AI and to see what's going on when your fan base that you've accumulated throughout the years send you new artists that put out songs that sound just like you, faster, better quality, better graphics, all of that are all like AI generated and have more monthly listeners to you, than you, and just the idea if the audience even knows that they're listening to an AI artist, So it's very, very strange, but you gotta applaud the creativity as well. So, I have mixed feelings about it all.
I am right there with you. I remember looking back at the analog days. This is what I still gravitate to. I honestly avoid AI as much as possible. I know it is impossible to avoid it completely because it's part of technology, it's part of everything that we're using. But I have very mixed feelings about it. Mostly negative feelings, I'll be honest. I still put the effort and time into making my own thumbnails, and I have making films now and seeing what AI has been used for in the film industry. I have mixed feelings about as well, but mostly again, it doesn't seem to be nurturing human creativity. As far as the way AI is being used and misused, I've been talking a lot about the era of video evidence being dead. How can we trust anything we see anymore? It has also caused a lot of people to check out of things like social media, which I think is a good thing. So, yes, it is a double edged sword. What about social
Mhm.
media and the impacts it's having?
Yeah. Um, Again, I think it's the same bag as far as you know, people being able to make money online with generating content that would have taken them a long time. But then you have bots, and then you have people that aren't associated with the content. I mean, all of this has kind of been going on over the years anyway, whether it was, maybe with esoteric or spiritual community, somebody in India or something like that with a content farm producing spiritual content and just putting it out because they know what we like. That's definitely been exposed in the Christian um, online space, that all of the top Christian websites were these bot
Mm.
farms in India that are just kind of like copying and pasting and different articles and just putting them out over the years, and it would get retention. Um, so you have that aspect, and where for the shock value thing too, like the negative headlines and negative articles and AI and things like that are the only things that seem to get attention. I know it's like this thing that we kind of have to have a shocking title in order for our podcast to even perform well. It can't be just an interesting subject. It has to be this shock and awe um, thumbnail and title. So I've always been into that to a degree, but when it's because I can, but when it's become the standard, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, like you have to do this versus get to do this kind of
Yeah.
thing, where everybody's doing it. It's a little bit strange now.
Also, there is the collective psychological state. I think that social media and the level of technology we've been immersed in is causing, especially with some younger folks, in how they're interacting socially, what they're connecting with, who they're connecting with online, what's influencing them in certain ways. To me, I think there is a level of intentionality behind all that as well to steer society in a certain direction.
I think so too. I think the younger generation, the world that they're coming up in is not the world that we perceived when we were coming up, but it's to be said for every generation too. We are evolving, we are changing. Um, they have new obstacles and hurdles and temptations that we couldn't even fathom, and I think that social media has played a huge role in that, and I would say for the most part, that it's been negative. You gotta, it's just the new normal for them. just like, the way we came up was the new normal for us versus our parents and our grandparents. They didn't understand us, and
Yeah.
didn't understand the things that we were dealing with and going through, and the different types of peer pressure that have changed and things like that. But when you have the algorithms and the apps that you're competing with, dating
Mm.
wise for people, sexually, you have to compete with that, and I think what it's done to the consciousness and to the psyche of both males and females. It's something that we did not have to deal with, and my heart goes out to the younger generation coming up that are, dealing with dating apps and Tinder, or let's just say sex
Hmm.
apps, even, before they date. So there's these qualities that we had to develop over the years of how to court and how to ask somebody out and how to have confidence in those things to get a girlfriend or to woo somebody or something like that. That's like these things that we've developed. Courtesy is out the window, and I've seen it so many times with a daughter myself, that this younger generation, it's scary, man. It really is.
According to many studies, the younger generations aren't engaging romantically or sexually anymore. There seems to be a massive disconnect with the sexes right now. Even adults, males, from what I hear, aren't approaching females anymore. There's this emasculization energy going around society right now. It's very interesting, but I have to again look back at a larger picture and think if there's intentionality, maybe a depopulation aspect.
It could be. Whether it's depopulation or, like you said, demasculating the males. And so you have no warriors, you have no soldiers, you have a bunch of people who are passive. You definitely have that. And it's interesting when we would look around at other cultures. And it's something that I've talked about a lot over the years, of just looking at what we think of as a hardcore, maybe a man, or like a thug or something like that. We have what it is to be a man in America, and that standard, and then maybe look at India, and as far as like any gas station that you've went to and dealt with owners or clerks there who were Indians, there's none of that, like pent up aggression, this facade that they're this hardcore individual, and it's something very strange. And so maybe that idea of what a true warrior, or what a man is, or something like that, that this idea that we're trying to preserve this kind of warrior mentality, this thing that's I guess over the time still shown to be seen as some type of shell anyway to the individual that's under that. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've thought about a lot over the years
Yeah.
anyway.
I've heard from a few sources that there is somewhat of an epidemic of witchcraft and occult ritual abuse on social media, TikTok. Younger folks that are being introduced to some occult concepts, some magical concepts, and attempting rituals, and these things don't go well for them. Have you heard anything about this?
Um, Definitely, but to what degree?
As far as the negative impacts of the misuse of things like witchcraft, occult magic, and having a lack of understanding just from watching a video attempting to do occult magic, it seems like a lot of younger folks are gravitating towards this from what I hear.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think it shows that people are interested. Like there is a longing
Mm,
within humans to reach out to the divine. And then when we look at what social media has shown is, the even more the bad side of religion, and the bad side of organized religion at that, when you feel this call to reach out to something greater, to reach out to God, you see what's available and what's like, these are my options kind of thing. So I think the counterculture and the occult spirituality for many people looks more appealing than modern day religion with all of its hypocrisies and scandals, So it's like choose. So I do see the silver lining in it that people are trying, and they're drawn to something beyond themselves that is supernatural. And so again, that's always been my thing, to try to interject myself in the middle of that searching process, that they would hopefully find some of my content that may have appeared to be dark or be occult with the aesthetic and things like that, but try to have a positive Christian message, if you will, like an underlying theme, just to show you that there is, even with the alternative, it doesn't have to be negative or demonic, if you will.
While we're in the realms of the supernatural, metaphysical, because so many people are seeking that connection, so many people are becoming interested in these spiritual concepts, there seems to be a revival of spiritual seeking of sorts. Let's talk a little bit how to navigate those spiritual realms if you're first starting to become interested, first starting to become aware of things, how to discern what we're interacting with, if indeed we're making contact with something. For a person who is first immersing themselves in these spiritual concepts, is there anything that you'd particularly point them towards, such as meditation, breathwork techniques, clearing childhood trauma, things like that?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is to establish that relationship with your creator, and you do that by and through all of those means that you just described, through prayer, through meditation, through reading materials, spending time in nature was always a big one. Listening to positive music, those are like the three things that I've always prescribed to people, in a sense, to listen to spiritual music, read spiritual books, and spend time in meditation. And I think those three, you can't go wrong. I've dealt with so many since my conception in this thing of dealing with predators in the spiritual community. There's not a shortage by any means, and I think the longer we live and the more time we spend in that area, we're finding more and more. There's no shortage of them. I think predators kind of flock to those communities where there are people who are seeking, where there are people who are wounded and hurt and who are gullible, and they take advantage of people. So I'm a real big proponent of you getting that personal relationship with your creator and with your own spirituality through your your guardian angels and just things that you can cultivate by yourself. There's so much different stuff out there, man, and it's I'm finding that it's always been the case with those the wolves in sheep's clothing.
While we're on the spiritual predators, because of the emergence of the desire to find out more spiritually from the collective, there is also an emergence of, like you said, these spiritual predators, these individuals in groups trying to take advantage of people seeking spiritually. We have people who claim to channel beings. This is one of the most prevalent things that I've seen lately. Channelers claiming to channel extraterrestrials or angels. The messages can be so extremely different and off base, and one person's Archangel Michael can sound and appear completely different as another person's. This is another thing that's tough to navigate, because I think it's possible that some of these channelers are making quote unquote contact with something, but being able to discern exactly what that thing is a whole nother ballgame from what I understand. Let's talk a little bit about channeling, how to navigate the intelligences that are out there. What is typically reaching out to us? Is it based on our frequency, on the energy we're emitting, where we're at emotionally and spiritually? Will that attract negative or positive beings?
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of the above. And it's this idea. I always want to make it sound a lot more practical, um, because of this idea of something you mentioned, whether we're talking about magic or channeling, and we can use both of those as an example. So when we're talking about magic, you would think that that is for a magician or for a priest. There's a scripture in the New Testament that says that you are all priests of your homes. You are all kings and priests, right? So this idea of like the playing field is now level, and you don't go to the priest. You are performing the role of priestly duties within your own life, right? So with magic, same way. Magic is not limited to the magician, because we are all magicians. If you can read and write and perceive, and you have a will and you have influence, you are a master magician, or you are under the influence of another magician. And through images, through writing, all of that is magical. And we've heard the play on the words, that with words or spells, and that whenever we write, we're performing a magical rite. We write a sentence, we're performing a magical rite. Whenever we spell words, we're putting someone under a spell. And then sometimes when we write our spells and our words, we write in cursive, and we're putting people under spells and putting hexes and curses on people. And I really believe that is true. So that magic and witchcraft and those things isn't something that those people over there are doing, or those people over there are under the influence of a strong magical spell, if you will. It is something that is closer and more common to all of us. And I'll say the same thing about channeling, right? As far as like, is the channeling, we have this image in our head of the person, Daryl Anka, Bashar, going into this trance, and this character comes through, and the voice changes, and the aesthetics, and good day to you, and I say unto you, my people. I like, this is in the church too. I came up with this in the church, and it's still prevalent. And I've done psychology videos on it, of just exploring this, of is it this tapping into the subconscious, and this whole even scapegoat feeling or theory of like, you have a mask that you're able to put on that you don't want to take the blame for, or you don't have the courage to really say how you truly feel.
Right.
So in this, step back so that the other character can come through. That character is more confident. That character speaks with authority, something that you lack confidence, you lack authority. But when you go into that character, the character comes forth. It's a part of you, but how you're too intimidated or afraid to tap into that character. And so, I did a presentation on this years ago that just explored those ideas through movies and through quotes of people talking about just going into character, and how they've lost themselves in characters, but they always identify many times that the character was always a part of them. It's something deep down within them, whether it's a method actor, or we see like Jim Carrey and some of these really good A-list actors, they become the character even offset. They'll go months where they won't respond to their regular name. They're doing interviews. They're revisiting family members as the character who's dead. Like there's some really wild stuff. And so the idea of channeling and, is it a being? Are there spirits involved with it, within or without? I think that's the question.
Mm.
And I would say both.
How should we discern if something is reaching out to us in our consciousness, in our mind's eye, and speaking to us? Or if you are attempting to make a spiritual connection yourself, how can we discern what we're making a connection with?
Mm. I think it is something about what we can call your frequency or your vibe or your desires. And so, you know, to stay safe, to kind of pump the brakes a little bit, to go into more of an introspective state, I always invoke the question, why? Why am I doing this? Why does this always happen to me? Why do, if there are predators out there, why are they attracted to
Mm.
me? Do I look like an easy victim? Why do I attract these types of people in my life? Why do I always self-sabotage? So instead of, um, going to the next guru or performing the next magical rite or magical spell, which I'm not against any of that, but I think if we take the time to say, why am I doing this? And we can explore just a little bit, we can get to the root of it. And maybe the reason is because you are insecure. Again, the whole mask thing. Why am I channeling and doing this on the internet and getting clicks and views and making money? Like, is it because I'm insecure? What if I dealt with my insecurities and I truly embody and become this entity that I'm trying to channel, but I have to go
Mm.
through these different means to do it or to get it. So again, I would just ask the bigger questions. Why? Why am I drawn to this type of music? Why am I drawn to this type of magical spell? And so that leads to doing the inner work, and that leads to doing the shadow work, because there's things that actually come up when you're asking those questions that you're able to deal
Mm.
with. Again, I'm just trying to save some heartache in the long run.
Would you say this also relates to trauma in a person's life, that it can bring about these spiritual influences, like you were saying, the different alternate personalities that are hidden within us? You hear about the techniques used in MK Ultra programs where they would traumatize the victim until they would split into different personalities. Depending on who you talk to, some say that those are other spiritual beings that are inhabiting them when this happens. From many of the guests that I've spoken to, childhood trauma can also open you up to have paranormal experiences. And if you're in a negative state, you may attract the negative beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's you're still dealing with the psyche, right? You're dealing with the person that's under the pressure and are like almost even creating that split. It's in, beauty is in the eye of the beholder again of what's actually happening. And we've given it many names so that we can deal with it and identify it over the years, whether it's a demon, whether it's a fallen angel, or an angel, or a deeper part of your consciousness. And um, I would say, like, I think all of them are true. Is the weird thing that all possibilities are true. The moment that you believe in them, the moment that you uh, question their existence, that all of it can and is happening. So being attacked and being sought out by outside influences. Um, but I think that there has to be this law of correspondence that you can identify there's something within you that is attracting such
Mm.
things. Whether it's you know, you're leaking energy that someone
Mm.
wants to pick up, and when you look around, you see this life that you've created, the friend circle again. It's we can make it sound very spiritual, but to understand that there are spirits within people, and so your friend group that you hang out with, like how did you attract these people and why? I think it says a lot about us. I think it says a lot about our traumas and or our taste, especially when we look around and it's a lot of things that are negative that are um, showing themselves to us.
Because of the emerging awareness of not only the spiritual concepts that we're talking about, but the overall corruption in our reality and the nature of our ruling class, the nature of our systems, people become aware of how anti-human those things are. And I think this has led to a lot of Gnostic understandings, which can get pretty dark for people. This goes all the way up to the afterlife, where some believe that we are just food for archons all the way around, that when we reach the afterlife, we are deceived by beings that present themselves as our ancestors and relatives and spank us and send us back to do it all over again, and that this reality is nothing but a loose harvest for our souls, and we're doomed to repeat it because we're trapped here. What are your thoughts about that emerging spiritual thought amongst the collective?
Yeah, and it's very strange because and I don't like
Right,
it. I'll
right.
say that. Um, but it wouldn't be as popular or as prevalent if there wasn't some truth to it. And that's the whole thing with I think is the balance in all of this is that the people uh, that made those uh, terms popular for the most part, they're not talking about all negative concepts. And so even with the Monroe Institute, who actually wrote, he wrote about, um, I think he was the first one to actually use the phrase the loosh farming or the loosh that draws in beings. And so there's this, but when he was talking about it, he wasn't talking about negative loosh. He wasn't talking about negative beings. He was talking about feelings of love and of joy and of hope. And so, these ideas that are taken, hijacked, used for negativity, because if you was to do those same videos, those same documentaries that are pay per click or pay per view with a positive spin, they're not going to get as much clicks. And so that's the sad thing about all this. And then, so what happens is the collective sees this stuff, they tie it into their spirituality, they tie it into their worldview, and they tie it into their religion, and it becomes truth to them. It becomes truth to them, and then they regurgitate it, and then other people, make videos and those kind of things, and it begins to catch on. And so other people regurgitate it, talk about it, not being able to trace these ideas back to their first mentions. Like when this was first mentioned, what was it talking about? Was it talking about the evil beings that are taking your loose? If that is true, the opposite has to be true as well. That there are positive entities, there are positive beings that are drawn to positivity, that are drawn to love, peace, hope, and that are here to assist. If there's an enemy, as the Bible talks about, the devil, if you will, that comes to kill, steal, and destroy, then the opposite of those have to be true as well. And that would be the Jesus and the angels that come to bring hope, bring life and life more abundantly. So I try my best to try to lean in to the other side because I mean the darkness is prevalent. It has its power. It's everyone's attracted to it. Um, so and I would say I believe a lot of it's true. I believe that there are the dark ones out there, but you can't believe in them without believing in the other. I'll say that. So to try to bring some hope or some what ifs to
Oh,
the
I agree. I mentioned the afterlife earlier. Civilizations like the ancient Egyptians spent their entire lives preparing for the afterlife, and they seem to have had a great understanding of how to navigate the afterlife and how to prepare. Do you think that's something that we should be doing as humans, is preparing for the afterlife?
Yeah, I think I think the earliest people knew and understood this stuff, that this place is temporary, and that there's a place that where we're going that lasts a lot longer and it's a little bit more permanent than this place. I think they understood that. I think they understood something a lot deeper, from the origins of civilization, that you can go back to really every ancient culture that lived their life that way. So whether they're preparing for a judgment, so that they can ready themselves, or we look at some of the deeper teachings of Jesus, and Jesus is kind of going through these judgments of the afterlife in this life so that you don't have to face them when you cross over to the next judgment. You've dealt with all of your sins here. And I think that this place, whatever this is an opportunity, a testing ground, even if we want to use the term simulation, that it's a place where you can be tested to see if you're worthy or ready to go to that next place. And even, with the idea of those having to reincarnate, don't go into the light. You're going to come back. It's a trick so that you come back here over and over and over again. This is what you do. Just make a right when you die. Don't go into the light. Make a right when you see the light. I don't think it's that easy. I think that most of those texts that talk about these levels of judgment and these angels that guard portals and guard dimensions aren't going to let you in with the things that you still have within your consciousness. Right. You still are a liar. You still cheat people. You still deceive people. You still murder. You still gossip. You still hate. So I'm actually keeping you away from these other people, this other realm, that you are, in prison here. You're in the esoteric. You're in the occult. You're kept hidden away from the others. And so I think that makes a lot more sense. And I see that in biblical context about, this idea of the kingdom, but what's also outside of the kingdom, and all of the negativity, the liars, the murderers, the adulterers, the killers, the fornicators, all the rapists, they're all out. We can't let them in. So it seems like this place that we're in is a melting pot of everything to see if you're going to be let into whatever comes next, or if you have to
You mentioned,
reincarnate and get another chance to try it again, maybe.
yeah, and you mentioned judgment in the afterlife. What do you think that looks like?
I think that I would say I try to bring it into this life again. Again, if I'm reading the teachings of Christ and reading most of the things that I've come to read within the scriptures, and not just the scriptures, but a lot of the ancient texts, about these prophecies about what's going to happen to the world. And you see a lot of things about where we're at in the book of Revelation, and we're in this short time of Satan's little season, and he gets this long to rule on the earth. I've come to take those prophecies about what's going to happen in the future and what's going to happen in the afterlife and apply them to my life now. And so I think that those ancient concepts were maps of that judgment that we are experiencing, and we can actually welcome those experiences to do the work again, so that when you get to the judgment seat or the next life, it doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks, like, oh, I'm being judged. There's the scriptures like that, one day you're going to stand in front of the judgment seat of God and give an account for all the wrongs that you've done, all the sins that you've committed. Well, let's forget the one day. How about we do that today? how many of us are in this place where we're a heart posture to want to stand in front of your creator every night before you put your head on your pillow and give an account for the sins that you've done. And so Jesus kind of gives tutorials and things like this on actually how to do it, how to forgive people, how not to harbor offense, and how to help people amongst you, because all of these are tests. You're being tested. You're going through this idea of a hellfire that purges off of and out of you, out of your soul, these impurities that keep the soul tethered to the material realm and to this earth, so that we aren't able to ascend. We're tied down to our sin that keeps us bound to this earth. So, I look at it that way. I really do, and it makes a lot more sense. It gives us more. It gives us something that we can do, and what I've found in religion a lot of times is that we keep pushing the goalpost out further and further, so we don't have to take responsibility. We'll take responsibility when we die. No, take it responsibility now. And I think that when you do that, you start to go through these layers of the psyche and through these layers of the soul, and begin to heal and to detach from the things that are, bringing you harm.
Do you think it's possible for there to be a lower realm afterlife, or what you would consider hell, a reflection of your life in the afterlife?
Yeah, I think all things are possible. I think that I think you can go up or down in those levels and layers of consciousness. So again, there's even the idea of like whatever we've done, whatever level of consciousness we've developed, level of purity or level of clarity, if you will, in this life, that we actually maintain that in the world to come. So those who are downtrodden, those who are doing evil things like that, the scripture says, he who is evil, let him be evil still. Let him continually be evil. Like, okay, you want to be evil now, let's see if you're going to be evil when you get to receive the rewards of your labor, kind of thing. And those who are righteous, let him be righteous still, like those who are good. So, I think that those are possibilities that you can maintain in that level of darkness or depression or chaos in the next life as well.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Most Christians believe that we have one shot at this, and if we don't make it, it's either up or down. I have this very strong intuitive feeling that I've done this before, and that reincarnation is something that we experience. I just wonder if it's a choice or if it's mandatory. What do you think about reincarnation?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see it biblically. I've done a lot of biblical study on characters that repeat throughout the Bible. They show up in Genesis. They show up in every book of the Bible, and their names change just a little bit. And they show up in the Old Testament, and they're doing the same thing. And many of those characters are getting it wrong. There's a lot riding on what they do and how they respond, and they've been given a opportunity to respond with integrity or to lie. And there was just specific cases where they lied, certain prophets in the Bible, and they die. They lie to the other prophets. They lie to Jeremiah, and they lie to God, and they try to deceive people. They die. Well, those same people come back in the New Testament and are like living the same, like the story is unfolding the same way. And it's like the person is either conscious or unconscious of their past life that they're, hey, like you're going to get another shot to retake that test, and you can get it right and pass, or you can get it wrong and the same thing or worse will happen to you. So those themes are definitely in the Bible. Even the idea of one being born again. To be born again or to be reborn is the very definition of reincarnation. That you were born once, but you're going to be born again. We're just given some modern interpretation that just means to have a spiritual rebirth, or I'm not the person that I used to be, which I believe in that too. But was it talking about something a lot deeper? And because those themes are there, is reincarnation eternal life? Is it eternal life? Do you get to keep incarnating eternally to become that person, whether it's to get a chance, do we move up and down in that? But the scripture that talks about like eternal life being a gift given to humanity through Christ. So is eternal life this idea of reincarnation?
You were mentioning earlier that you apply biblical prophecy not to something that's unfolding on the planet in a grand way, but it's something that you apply to your individual experiences. Many people have the understanding that biblical prophecy is unfolding. Many Christians believe that we're in the midst of the apocalypse, and recent events are a direct reflection of that. If anything, I would think that the ruling class is attempting to get the masses to believe that that is unfolding. I would see that before actual biblical prophecy unfolding.
Yeah, so a lot of people would look at biblical prophecy in the book of Revelation and things like that and say that the elite are using that as their playbook, you know. And so for one, I think it would keep a lot of people from reading it, you know, and taking it personal versus like, hey, this is their book, stay away from it, it's an evil book. I've definitely heard that idea. Again, I think we need to move from victim, you know, to victor. Is there something that I can do? And if you can't do anything to stop it or to change it, because it's prophecy and prophecy will be fulfilled, then you seem to be weak and powerless, and you know, there's nothing that you can do. But I think that when we take these ideas and try our best to apply them to our lives, starts to make sense, and we start to see how this stuff works, and that, you know, if we change ourselves, we indeed change the collective. And us trying to change everybody, for me, it never worked. But when I changed myself, it seems when I've had the you know, the biggest impact on those around me, and I've been able to inspire and to equip and to enlighten people without even trying. So I look at, you know, the biblical prophecies that way as well. And for many reasons, I'll say one thing, that, you know, the book of Revelation is spoken in parables and in metaphors, but the very beginning of it tells you this, that this book or Revelation is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And so you can read that and then forget that this is a revelation of the end. Is it a revelation of the end, or is it a revelation of your end? Because the scriptures will also go on to say that if this is a revelation of Christ, but then it says Christ is inside of you. So all of these things that we see and we can point to happening outside of us, they don't happen outside of us. Again, going back to the beginning of this conversation, is if they don't find residence or happen within you first.
Right.
This enlightenment, this awakening that the world is going to see, it's going to happen on an individual basis first. And when it happens to two individuals, where two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst. This is what Christ said. It begins to happen to the collective. And I think that this is what we've always been able to see. But when we see it individually, we're able to see the others who are awake, the others who are awakening as well. But with that, again, like you're saying, what are we awakening to? Which level of consciousness, which reality, which truth are we awakening to? And I think that is what separates a lot of people. And so many people are awakening to doom and gloom theories that still bring a level of comfort to them because there's a superhero coming, he's not here yet, but one day he'll be here, kind of thing. And so therefore throws off the responsibility again versus that superhero is here and he's inside of you, living and breathing in your consciousness, and now he has a body, now he has hands and feet, now he can hug people, now he can love, now he can forgive people, like Christ can live in you, not one day but today. And again, just bringing all that stuff into the now moment really changes things for me, and it helps me be able to see the beauty within those ancient or futuristic prophecies.
What are your thoughts on the current collective understanding of Christianity and the Bible, the effect recent events have had on Christianity as a whole? Do you think people are generally heading in the right direction with their understanding? Have they taken a step back? Where have they gone wrong? What are your thoughts on the state of Christianity right now?
Yeah, I think, again, it speaks to the collective of the people. I think we're seeing both. Church numbers have been down and attendance has been down for a long time, but there's this desperation within people and they're looking. So there, certain celebrities and things like that, and people are flocking to Christianity or like leaving spirituality and those kind of things and going to Christianity. I don't recommend that. I recommend going to Christ, not Christianity as the religion, because it was gonna, it's full of people who are not perfect, and it's full of predators, and it's full of wolves. Can people encounter Christ there? For sure, they definitely can within the four walls of a church building. But you can also encounter Christ in nature and in spirituality and in prayer and in devotion. And I think that's the key takeaway. With that too, I've also seen the teeth come out, I think, with a lot of the religious people kind of pushing back at the rise of spirituality and people again finding Christ outside of Christianity, which is a threat, when you claim to be, the staple on an idea, on a person or a religion, and how to engage with that. And I think that the evidence is showing that they're not, and they never were. But it has its place. It has its place for the people who are desperate. Like you need a doctor, you need a physician, you need a hospital, you need a place to go to, you need help, and that you couldn't find on your own, and so you need an institution. And so I think it does show up for those people, but it's also flawed for a reason. I think the flaw is actually by design, and I think that it's that God and that Christ put it in there so that you can't rely on another man, that you can't rely on another person, that you have to rely solely upon him. And I think that's what the Bible teaches, and what we've seen with religion, and what we're going to continue to see.
Right on, man. Well, do you have any final thoughts? Do you have hope for the future? Any upcoming projects that you're working on?
Yeah, man. Me and my wife have been revamping our website and our community hangouts and games that we play. with our online Zoom community around the world. It's really fun. So we've been working on that. We're working on some upcoming retreats. We're going to be in Sedona at the end of February. So all of that information is on our website. We're working on new music, all that good stuff. They can check out everything that we're bringing to the table. Go to our website. We got a free meditation that you can download. It's a guided meditation with really immersive soundscapes, voice actors that we've hired to put in there and to really give this crazy immersive experience. So I definitely recommend people go and check that out at truthseekah.com, truth, SEEKAH.com.
Awesome, man. We'll have to do this again. This was fantastic. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. You can now stream the forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana, free on Tubi TV. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. Hello friends, I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. Check out the incredible artwork of Johnny Larson, featured on the cover of the Forbidden documentary, and the book A Warning from History by Cory Hughes. Visit Johnny's Patreon, patreon.com/Johnny Larson, or click the link in the description and help support Johnny's work. The nature of this experience seems to always be just beyond the reach of our science, technology, and consciousness collective.
There's layers upon layers upon layers.
It does add such an element of mystery to this place.
Why are we here?
We're getting closer to the truth now.
There's too many people experiencing profound interactions with conscious entities.
I'm focused on the non-human intelligence contact phenomenon in dreams. Dreams involve interactions with real entities.
People are waking up paralyzed. They're sensing or seeing something very evil in the room.
I have experienced sleep paralysis. Shadow people start to appear.
I was taken from my earliest memories by non-human alien entities. More and more people are wanting to talk about these things.
A ufologist would say, well, that's obviously an extraterrestrial. And a paranormal researcher would say, well, that's a ghost. Well, what if it's all of those things and none of those things? The entities, the intelligence that was just beyond our understanding.
There seems to be something a little extra that can take forms of anything.
I can't believe what I've seen, but it continues on a daily basis. We're definitely not alone. UFOs, UAPs, portals opening up.
I live with all this supernatural stuff. You kind of grow up with that around here. You see a lot of strange things. I don't like to talk about skinwalkers too much.
I had an experience with a skinwalker entity.
People, they would say they would transform into bears, into wolves. There's these bad things that occur. Ghosts, UFOs, and all types of things coming from somewhere.
Our beliefs, our emotions, and our fears all seem to heavily influence the nature of these experiences.
There is so much more that we just don't have time for in this busy, loud, noisy life that we lead.
All of this is planned. Everything is synchronicity.
There's so much more out there. We really are picking up such a small percentage of the electromagnetic spectrum.
The world is an amazing place.
It feels like we're gods in training.